Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Marvelous Monday. I'm Leslie Watkins. I hope you're well. So I had to start a little bit later today because I was busy doing some gardening work, so I hope I didn't mess up your schedule. I hope you're still with me. I have a cute card today that I want to show you using the prized Peony stamp set and dies. And I think you can see in the background here a beautiful bouquet of peonies. These are from my garden. There you go. These are called Festiva Maxima, and these are a very old variety of peonies that have been around for a while. And if you look closely, you can see just a little bit of crimson in the center petals. And these peonies, I've got one beautiful, rich magenta one back there as well. So these are very fragrant. So sorry you can't get the fragrance, but they are absolutely wonderful. So hopefully this Wednesday the weather will clear up. It's kind of rainy right now, and unfortunately it's been knocking a lot of the peonies down, and the petals are beginning to drop. We're having a very early season this year. Everything's just blooming ahead of time. So what I'm hoping is that for Watercolor Wednesday we'll be able to paint a peony. So fingers crossed that we have some left. But today I wanted to show you this great stamp set. So I'm going to turn you down so you can see it. This is what the stamps look like. And they have some beautiful sentiments with them, which read, "So sorry for your loss, my thoughts are with you. Love and thanks to a dear friend. Your sweet friendship refreshes the soul." So this is a very nice set to have handy for when you need it. And of course the artwork is just stunning. So just this beautiful, this is the one we're going to be using today, this beautiful rendering of this peony with the bud and the leaves. And then you have these additional images. And if you look really closely, there's some very fine, maybe I can zoom you in a little bit here. There's some very fine decorative diamond patterned elements here that you can use for your backgrounds. One of the things that makes this set special is that it comes with these dies, and there are a lot of them. There are 17 of them in here. And you have dies that will cut out these images, but you also have these additional dies that will create a kind of a 3D peony shape. So I have one put together here, and you can see that you can curl these various pieces that are stacked together so that you can get a little bit more of a 3D quality. And I'm not going to make this today. I'm going to do this on a different video. Today I'm just going to keep it simple. And I'm also going to use just some monochromatic colors. So I have my basic Sahara sand and crumb cake here. And I've already cut a card base. So this is just your 5.5 by 4.25 card base cut out of the thick, very vanilla cardstock. And I will be listing all of the materials that I'm using today after the video. So here's my card base, and then I also have a piece of crumb cake, and I've also cut this at 4.25 by 5.5. And then I have my Fluid 100 watercolor paper. This is a brand new pack, so I'm just going to pull out a sheet. Here we go. And so these pieces of the Fluid 100 measure 5 by 7. So I'm going to keep this at 5, but I'm going to cut it a little off center here. So something in that area. So let's just check what that measures. So that is very close to 3.5. So I'm going to cut that at 3.5. So that's actually just right in the center of the Fluid 100. I'm going to take away that little pencil mark. All right, so now I have a piece of watercolor paper that will fit nicely on my crumb cake, but it's going to leave me a little bit extra over here on the right hand side. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to use this beautiful scalloped border and see what that looks like. I haven't used it yet, so this is going to be a first for me. So to do that, I'm getting out my cut and emboss machine. And placing my crumb cake cardstock in here. I'm going to stand up so I can line this up. Alright, so I'm just going to the very edge. It's a little bit hard to see, I know, but excuse my head if I get it in the camera here so I can see exactly what I'm doing. That looks pretty good. Actually, you know what? I'm going to bring it in a little bit more. I'm going to give myself about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. I think the scallops will show up better that way. Okay, let's see what happens. Oh, that's very pretty. Okay, I'll give you a close-up of that in just a minute. So what it's done is it's not only cut out the scallop detail, but it's also added an added embossed element. So it's got an extra embossed area with this little loop, and then the scallops. So that is going to look like this on my card. But what I want to do is I want to trim the cover of the card a little bit. So let's see. I think by 1/2 inch. So let me get my trimmer back out again. And I'm going to line this up with the, oops, you're too close now. There we go. I'm going to line this up with the 1/2 inch mark. Trim that away. And now I have something that looks like that. All right, and then that scalloped edge is going to show up nicely against the very vanilla. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and glue that down, get that ready to go. And I'm staying about 1/4 of an inch from the edges. And this is going to line up with the crease plus the top and bottom. Okay, and I can just sort of press that into place. There we go. Okay, so there is my card base. And now we're going to do some stamping. So this is the watercolor paper. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be using this larger image. And that will fit nicely on there. And for this, I'm going to be using the Sahara sand. And let's see, I want to tip it up a little bit. So there's my image, and I'm going to also add a sentiment. And for the sentiment, I think I'll use My Thoughts Are With You. And for the sentiment, I'm going to use the crumb cake ink. Now, because the watercolor paper has a slight texture to it, it's not going to be it's going to look a little more rustic than perfect image. And I'm just going to put this right here. Ooh, that's a little crooked. That's okay. I can live with that. You, of course, will do it much more nicely than I just did. And I'm going to get out my water painter. So for this, I'm using the medium-sized water painter, and I'm just going to squeeze out a couple of drops of water into my lid where I have some of the Sahara sand ink that I've already put some drops. And now I'm just going to put a little wash, and this doesn't take much. I'll zoom you in so you can see a little better. But I'm just going to put a very light wash over some of these areas. I'm leaving a little bit of white for the light areas. Keeping it very simple. And a lot of the color is coming from the stamp itself, from the ink that I made the impression with. So you really don't have to do hardly any work at all. And this just helps to give it a little more dimension. Okay, and then you can go back with your palette and get some darks. So I'm just going to put a couple of darks here and there. If you're interested in learning more about watercolor painting, please go to my website at dandelioncottagedesign.com and subscribe to my newsletter, Notes from Dandelion Cottage, and I will let you know when the next beginning watercolor course begins. And there's also more information on my website that will help you to see what else is available. All right, so I'm just gonna, whoops. So I'm just using a tissue to blot my brush so I don't have quite so much water on the end there. And I'm just blending some of these tones so give it a nice soft transition. Okay, so there is our beautiful peony with a light wash. Okay, and our slightly crooked sentiment. And what I want to do is I want to add a little bit of the linen thread. Going to unwind a little bit of this. I'm going to wrap this around twice. I'll go 3 times. Snugging that up a little bit. Just going to tie this in a knot. And then I'm going to put a little bow. So I'm separating out the strands and then I'm tying them together so that they kind of fan out like so. And actually I don't think I'm going to bother with the bow. I'm just going to put a simple knot, keep it easy. And then Put a little bit of glue on the back of my card. Oops, get that glue off of there. There we go. So there is a very easy card that you can do with just a few materials. I used the Sahara sand and the crumb cake, but you could easily do it with either one. And I have an envelope here. I want to put a little decoration on the envelope too. Whoops, sorry if I bumped you. So I think for the envelope, I'm just going to use this pretty little design. There we go. Very elegant. And that is the card for today. There we go. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. And I hope that gives you some ideas about how you can apply just a little bit of painted tone to make your cards a little more special. And I will see you again on Wednesday, hopefully with some peonies to share with you. So please join me then, and have a great week. Stay well, stay happy, stay inspired and creative, and I will see you next time.